Welcome back, everyone, and I'm here again with Jordan Sharp, SBR contributor, and today we're going to be looking at what the opening NFL odds are looking like, starting with the game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. But first off, how you doing today, Jordan?
I'm doing great, Dax. Thanks for having me back, man.
All right, no problem, my man. All right, so bookies opened this one at -4.5 for the Falcons with a 45-point total. Since then, the line jumped up all the way to -6.5. Now, Jordan, why do you think we saw this jump in just a couple of days?
You know, it's interesting. I think more people are realizing that the Falcons are that type of team that you tail at home and fade on the road. And once again here, back at home in a divisional game against the Tampa Bay Bucs team that really just has not looked that great on offense or really defense for that matter. Going up against a Falcons team that should be in for a big comeback here on a short week against an inexperienced team with a new coach. I think people are just kind of putting two and two together here, realizing that 4.5 to 5 point line was just way too small, moving them up to a touchdown now, though I think we'll probably see that stick and settle down there right around 6 points on Thursday night.
All right, good stuff. Now let's look at another one that's actually been pretty much of a surprise for the first 2 weeks. The Buffalo Bills right now, the bookies opened them as a pick'em against the Chargers at -120. Since then, those odds moved to 2.5 points in favor of the Bills. Now I'm thinking that the reason that they're at 2.5 right now is due to the fact that they won their last game. But again, that's just my assumption. Why do you believe that this line moved up, Jordan?
Well, if you take a look at the SBR consensus page, you'll notice that a lot of money, a lot of early week money has been put on the Buffalo Bills. A lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon, especially against a team like San Diego, coming off of a big win themselves. They think that the public might be looking to take points with the San Diego Chargers here, despite having to go all the way across country to Buffalo to play the Bills here, whereas the Bills not looking like that bad of a team right now. But like I said, if you look at that consensus data right now, 93.6% of all the money currently being wagered on this game going on to the Buffalo Bills. I think the books had no choice but to raise this line a little bit to 2.5 points. But like I will say this, even though I do think that -1 was probably a little bit of a value in favor of Buffalo, I think you will see this line come back down eventually before Sunday with some people trying to get some value on the San Diego Chargers, whether it's on the money line or whether it's against the spread as well, because you cannot overlook, even though it was at home, and even though Seattle obviously does play a little bit differently on the road than they do at home, the Seattle Seahawks beating the Seattle Seahawks last week was a very good accomplishment for the San Diego Chargers, and I think you're going to see some people take those points, noting that, and probably moving this line back down to maybe 1.5 to 2.
All right, now how about the RG3-less Redskins going up against Darren Sproles' Eagles? Bookies pretty much cracked this one open at -7 plus 105 for the Eagles with a 51-point total. Now, since then, that line dropped down 0.5 point and 1 whole point in some other cases. Now, do you think that we could actually see this line move any more? And if so, do you think it might go higher or maybe even lower?
Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting one. Divisional matchup. Obviously now with Kirk Cousins coming in to play quarterback on the road for the Redskins up in Philadelphia, probably a big true test for this Washington Redskins team. But, you know, because I'm like I said, I don't really think that their win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially after losing RG3, is going to mean too much. They really need to prove themselves against a team like the Eagles, and on the road is the way to do it. But, you know, I think 6 points is probably pretty fair for what this game is probably going to entail. Like you said, it opened at 7, has been moved down just a little bit. But I think personally that the Redskins are probably better offensively with Kirk Cousins. And personally, I believe that Jay Gruden wants Kirk Cousins to be his quarterback right now, because I think he prefers that type of quarterback in that system. And I think that kind of the sharps are taking notice of this, and that's why they jumped on the Redskins early, I think, at +7. Personally, I don't think this line is going to go anywhere, Dax. I think it's going to probably stay right around 6, maybe 6.5 points. But I sincerely doubt Philadelphia goes back up to 7 or 7.5 points. I'd be pretty surprised if that happened.
All right, now how about this little rivalry match that we have between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions? Now, odds makers initially had this one at -1, -120 in favor of Detroit. And now actually that line went up 0.5 point, and in some cases even up to 2 points, like in PinnacleSports.com. Now, where do you expect this line to start to settle, Jordan? Maybe back at -1?
Yeah, you know, that's probably a pretty good hypothesis there, Dax. You know, between these two divisional games, these two opponents normally play one another pretty close, and that's obviously why I think you have this sort of movement here. But I am just really, really questioning whether or not the Detroit Lions should be big, you know, even small, slight favorites, let alone big favorites in this game. So personally, I really think the only way this line's going to move is back down to around -1, even a pick 'em potentially, but by the end of the week. I think the sharps probably waiting on the public to bet up the Detroit Lions, because I think the Packers, despite being on the road here, are a far superior football team. It very much surprised me to see this line moving in this direction. So I think we're going to see a correction later in the week. You'll probably see some bigger money coming in on the Packers later in the week, and I think that will move the line back down probably to where it opened at -1, potentially even to a pick'em.
All right, now here's a game that pretty much everyone's been waiting for. It's the rematch of last year's Super Bowl. Now, Seattle came into this one as -4.5 point favorites as their initial opening line. Now, since then, that line has gone back to -5 and then all the way back down to -4.5. Now, what factors do you think that this might be affecting this particular movement, Jordan?
You know, I saw a lot of people. I was watching this line in particular because obviously, as you said, it's probably the most interesting game of the week, if not one of the most interesting games. I think a lot of people were jumping on Denver early, especially after they saw Seattle lose in San Diego. But like we talked about with the Falcons this Thursday, Seattle is even more into this. They are such a better team when playing at home, and they proved it. You know, I think they will continue to prove it, especially even against a team like the Denver Broncos. Now, will the Broncos make some adjustments from their Super Bowl blowout loss? Of course they will. This should be a much, much closer game. But in the end, you're probably seeing some value right now open up with Seattle, especially after, like I said, after that loss against San Diego. I think people are going to be down on them. The public's probably not going to be as enamored with them as they normally are. And once again, we've seen how much Seattle dominates at home. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to jump on the line now if you like Seattle, because I think that this line could move up some later in the week.
So what are you thinking? Maybe a 5.5, even a 6?
You know, maybe not 6 points. 6 points does seem like a little much, but 5.5 seems reasonable, Dax. You know, I mean, 4.5 right now, which is where you're getting it at like Pinnacle, Bet Online, sportsbetting.com. I mean, like a lot of these, that just seems really, really low, especially with only -110 juice. Like, so I think you're going to see a lot of people jump on this Hawks here. Probably move them back to, I'd say, 5.5 points. Seems like a pretty reasonable spread.
All right, now here's the last one that we have, which is between the Chicago Bears and the New York Jets. And oddly enough, bookies continue to establish the line as pick 'em on the Jets as favorites at -120. Now, the line went all the way up to -3 in some cases, like at pinnaclesports.com, but with a +102 juice, which can only mean that bookmakers expect this to be a very close game. But why do you think that this line went all the way up to -3, especially in favor of the Jets, Jordan?
Yeah, that's a huge question mark, Dax. Also, to go along with the fact that obviously Chicago had their biggest win in a very long time this past week on the road, coming back from a 17-0 deficit against the San Francisco 49ers. Now they're going into New York, probably a much worse team than what San Francisco projects to be, and now they've gone from a pick 'em to 3-point underdogs. So, you know, it's very, very strange line movement indeed. And if you look at the consensus data, it really doesn't give us a clear shot as to why that could have happened. There's not a lot of money being put on the Jets as opposed to the Bears right now, so that's a big question mark. So really the only answer I could potentially have for you is that you know, there's just a lot of early money going on the Jets, and that eventually we'll see it even out a little bit more to where they're going to be forced to move that line back down. But I'd be surprised if it stays at 3 points here. Maybe 2.5 would be you know, I think the highest this spread will settle at. Potentially, I'm looking at it to go back down to about -1.5. I think that a similar situation like we've been seeing in some of these other games we've been talking about, where just one side has been bet up early in the week and the other side will eventually catch up and I think force those books to move back down, move that line back down. But this is a big question mark game, Dax, especially when it comes to the line movement. I have no idea why it moved up so quickly early on in the week, and especially because this is a Monday night game, still, you know, 6 days away. So very, very intriguing. Definitely going to be a line to watch if you do think you have a beat on this game, because who knows where this line's going to settle. But I sincerely doubt it's going to settle where it is now at 3 or even 2.5.
Well, I might think that we might see it settle at -1, but either way, we'll touch this one again next Friday or Thursday, I believe. So we'll definitely look at the odds on that one again.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I agree with you. I think 1, maybe 1.5 is probably where I'm targeting this one as where it should settle. Right now, very, very inflated on the New York Jets, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt, my man. All right, thank you very much, Jordan. Love talking football with you, and I hope we can go at it again some more.
All right, tthanks, Dax.
No problem. And for sportsbookreview.com, this is Dax Floyd.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.